Hi friends, this is Lalen Sharma from Premium Select Finance. Hope you are having a great day. Actually, I'm here with John from White Rhino, and today we are just sharing some information. Last week we spoke, John. Last week we spoke about how the pre-approval works. And once a person basically finds a pre-approval and in fact knows what their options are, and they are ready to look for property, and let's say if they come to you and say, John, I got a pre-approval ready, what do we now do? So what is the process? How do you take the process further from there on?
Sure, thanks, Lalen. A lot of people are a little unsure with that sort of process. So once they have their pre-approval, they would either come to us via an open home to have a look at a property, or quite often they'll just contact me directly and ask me to help them find a property. And what we do is we'll take them through, show them the property. If they're interested in that property, we would then give them a contract for sale, so they can go through the building reports and energy ratings and so on. And then if it was a property of interest, they would then submit an offer for the property. I would then take that offer to the seller of the property or the vendor of the property, and the offer would either be accepted, or we would then negotiate a position that it was going to be accepted. From there, I would then ask the seller to forward me their broker details and their solicitor's details. We then arrange for what's called exchange, which will generally happen in 2 to 3 weeks. It varies a little depending on banks at the moment, but 2 to 3 weeks later we'd have exchange. Just prior to exchange, following your input, we'd get a bank valuation would come through, approved, and that's where the loan could be approved. And then the solicitors will arrange exchange, and that's exchange of contracts from the buyer and the seller, and a deposit is paid. Now, generally for a house, the deposit is around 10% or 10%, and for a unit, it's usually about 5% for.
So actually that gives a very clear indication that once the contract of sale is given, it's very important that that message is relayed to basically us who are going for formal approval. Because as we know that the exchange can't happen unless it's a formal approval.
Correct.
So it's very important to minimize the time between that process. The information goes fast to us, and then we can order the valuation. The formal approval is achieved basically, and once that's done, then the exchange can happen.
Correct. And it's very important for the buyers to be aware that they're in a position where they keep the broker will keep yourself informed of what's going on, because some of our deals, I've had vendors accept a lower amount, but if it's been finance ready, it suits the vendor sometimes. So it's quite important that the buyers are aware of where they stand with the loan approval process, and to try and get that through as quickly as we can. And then once they've exchanged, generally it's 30 days later that we have what we call settlement, and that's where the buyer takes ownership of the property.
There's one thing more I want to tell a difference between some of the approvals. So there's another approval called indicative approval. So that indicative approval really is just assessing the applicant's personal conditions. Right, but at no point of time that means that you have been granted even a pre-approval, because pre-approval is further assessment by not thorough assessment of the process. Indicative approval usually comes just by system, and in fact it's just the acceptance of the application, that your application suits or matches what's required to get you the loan, but it hasn't been assessed. So people shouldn't be working with the indicative.
They need to really be aware of the differences there, and contact the broker to find that out. We are finding too at the moment that there's around 30% less stock on the market than has been traditionally at this time of year. So lots of buyers, less houses, means you really have to be ready to move quickly if it's a place that you really like.
That's right.
So I put a place on the market last weekend. I had 5 offers on it within 3 days, and so the sale of that property is going to someone that was just a little more advanced in terms of having their loan approvals. So it's quite important if you're looking at buying to have that in place ready.
That's right. So no, yeah, thanks very much for that important information. This actually is really important for any customer to make sure that they get the best service and without any frustration they can, because buying a home is a very big transaction.
Yes.
It's very important to understand every process and every step along the way to make a fair transition into becoming an owner, especially if you're a first homeowner.
Absolutely, and we're happy to help try to make that as smooth as possible for our guys.
No, yeah, thanks for your time and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks, Lalen.
Thanks.